You want to get high, man?
Let's stimulate your mind.
Get up, Chucky!
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
Rojan Kim.
Let's start recording now. All right, cool. All right, thank you. All right, welcome to the Rojan Kidcast, everybody. I have with me today fellow comedian, and I guess you're in Minnesota. You were saying?
That's right.
That's cool. Is that where you're from originally?
Yep, Twin Cities.
Nice. Okay. And we have, and how do you say your last name, Nick? Is it Linsmayer?
Linsmayer, yeah.
Linsmayer. Okay, cool. We have Nick Linsmayer, everybody. He has been, I've seen you in the, in the golden age of open mics that we had, where you could just throw a rock and hit an open mic.
Yep.
But one of the reasons, whoa, I look really red. I don't know what's up with my camera. Hold on. Fuck it. It looks like I'm in hell, which it's appropriate.
I probably sound like hell. My mic's not working, so whatever.
No, I think you sound fine.
It was working a second ago, like the one I plugged in anyway. It fucked up the whole audio system.
You want to try putting it
Yeah, let's not bother, Rojan.
Are you sure?
I'm grateful to be on. I'm sure it'll be fine.
All right, man. Well, one of the reasons I asked you on was because I noticed that you had been making posts and stuff just about like trading and stocks, about oil futures and stuff like that. Like, yeah. And because I've been interested. I feel like every time there's some kind of financial disaster or crisis, I get interested.
Yeah.
In finance. So I got into stocks, like 10 years ago, or whatever. But not like in any just like any idiot would get into it, you know what I mean? Like on Robinhood or like just E-Trade or whatever, and having no idea what I'm doing. And then I'm sure I lost a couple $100 or something. And then I was like, but then this time around, I was like, okay, what if I actually like spent some time to learn about what it was instead of just like, so yeah, then I started learning just like about trading in general, just like Forex and then futures and stocks or whatever, and like, it's like, I don't have any money to trade or anything, but I just felt that it was like something that was very interesting to me, just the idea that this is, well, first of all, it's clear that finance is way more important to the state than, let's just say, people, than regular people. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, then I guess I might as well look at what's going on over here, and then, and then to realize the more you learn about it, there's like something about it that's incredibly rational, and then something about it that's incredibly irrational at the same time. You know what I mean? And part of it is like, I guess this is like, this idea, it's just supply and demand, trading, buying and selling. Like it's kind of sort of the one thing that actually unites the entire world. You know what I mean? Like,
money, baby.
Yeah. Well, you ever read that book, Sapiens? You ever hear that book?
I know of it. I think I've read excerpts of it, but I haven't actually plowed through.
Yeah, his whole thing in there is that like, if you really look at the commerce is probably the only one thing people have been able to agree on and not kill each other totally over. It's like the one we all agreed for some reason that gold was worth something, and then we all decided to just like trade off of that, and it's basically pretty similar, except now we've got gigantic AIs and shit, like manipulating the markets and stuff. So why don't you tell me just a little bit about like how you got, because you said you started, you bought stocks when you were like a kid and stuff, right?
Well, yeah, I first wanted to buy stocks reading about it in like, I don't know, middle school or high school. I think it was like 7th grade. And I was reading about Boeing all the time because I was imitating a friend of mine who was smart, and he's a lawyer now. And I'm a fucking open micer. But he was reading the Wall Street Journal in 7th grade, and then I decided to read the Wall Street Journal. And I kept reading about Boeing, and they were going to have this huge new jet called the Dreamliner. Wasn't known for its size, but its efficiency, and it's going to revolutionize. So I told my dad I had some, allowance or whatever. I had some birthday money savings, and I said, "Can you put like, I don't know, $100 or something on this?" And that was 2007, I guess, something maybe before then. But anyway, the point being, that was what got me started. And then
So it was just some guy that you admired, basically.
Yeah, my good buddy, if he's listening, probably not. Whit Morley. He's too busy. Right now he's working companies through bankruptcies because left and right, oil companies especially, are just tanking.
Oh yeah,
unintended, because they can't find places to store it, and so the American producers, who have a higher cost basis globally than most of the world, they're never going to come back, probably. A lot of them.
Yeah. Well, I actually want to talk about this some more, but I want to put a pin in it for a second because I just want to talk about, okay, so you were like Boeing, you just fucking read a paper, you just like, basically you just read some news and you were like, this sounds interesting and I want to know what it's like.
Quantitative analysis or anything like that. I was a kid, but my dad, like, he humored me and he went to the bank and he got me the stock and like one share, whatever, not much, but
yeah.
Ever since then, I've always liked to save money, and I don't like to spend money. And I'm a buy and hold kind of guy, Rojan. I don't actively trade too much. I did a little bit for a hot minute in like college, but because that was right after the financial crash. Yeah. And banks were really exciting because they were like, I remember Bank of America, I bought in at $5 a share. Whoa. And then I sold shortly thereafter, and I basically broke even because it was like super volatile.
Yeah.
Yeah, ever since then I've paid at least a little bit of attention to it, and I don't try to spend too much time on it.
Yeah, I mean, it can be like, I can see people getting upset. I mean, I got obsessed for a little bit and then I realized, well, there's no point to me spending all this time doing, you know what I mean? I mean, I am learning a lot, but at the same time, like, it's kind of like, it's like, I mean, it's like basically if I was like a sports gambler and just checking all the fucking score, you know what I mean? It's just like doing all this like so-called due diligence, but I'm not really like I don't have the capital to do anything. So that, but I do feel like it's interesting. Do you still have that Boeing stock? Do you still have that share? Nice.
Yeah, I've done what's called a DRIP, dividend reinvestment program. So it just buys more stock whenever they issue the dividend. So now
you're just reinvesting.
Yep. So it's grown over the years, and it actually was doing super well. Like it was like $440 a share, or like maybe it was $360, something like that, within the last year. And then obviously this happened. But I think it was like $100 a share when I got it. So it was like doing great, and now it's like almost back to where I started. But the dividends and the growth of that means that it actually has gained in value, because
well, Boeing, I hear so much talk about Boeing just because they're like basically the biggest manufacturer, I think, in the country, right? And they were in Washington, so they were hit like first essentially and all this stuff. And then of course with travel and all this shit. But do you just feel like, are you kind of like well, first of all, I feel like you're like a value investor, basically, right? You're sort of like, you're like a Warren Buffett, you're like a mini Buffett, basically, because you're all about basically just like going for the value, buying it, holding it, because you're going to increase in value. So do you feel that like because I heard about, it was big news that Buffett dumped all his airline stock, right? Because he was like, like, oh, I guess I didn't see this coming. But do you feel like in the long run, it's just going to bounce back? Like there's no, you know what I mean? Like that. I mean, Boeing is such a huge company. Like, I just feel like, are they just going to prop it up, or what do you think?
Well, I'll tell you, for somebody like me, and obviously everybody's circumstances are different. And for me, I had some cash. I was planning on getting a new job. Like actually right before the pandemic, I was talking to some people about making some more money. But I didn't sell anything. I'll say that. I didn't sell anything before or after this crash. Mm-hmm. In fact, I invested like in mid-March while things were crashing. And I did a stupid thing, though. I put money in Delta and in Spirit Airlines. And I also, those were just two things. And then I put a little bit in the overall market, like an ETF of the S&P 500. And I did some in like a mortgage-backed security real estate investment trust, or REIT. And that is shit the bed. But you know what? I think it'll come back eventually. The market overall has done better since I bought in. So but airlines have totally tanked. And I didn't expect Warren to exit completely from airlines. So that kind of threw me for a loop. But yeah, I basically buy and hold because, as you were saying, you could go crazy with all the analysis, right? You could just
Yeah.
spend forever and you still don't know. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's still making somewhat of a gamble. And, I'm sure you've read about the efficient markets theory, the hypothesis that everybody has a certain level of information, and you can, if as long as you do some research, you have an awareness of what's going on. It's kind of just your gut feeling at that point. What do you think is going to happen next? So that's kind of what I do, and overall the market tends to go up over time, so that's why it makes sense.
So then do you, how do you feel about like all this like sort of technical analysis stuff, and like there's so many sort of like schools of thought, and sort of it looks like a lot of it just seems like a racket of just like pay us some money and we'll show you this awesome tool or indicator that's gonna guarantee you money or whatever, like it's
Yeah.
but I mean, do you feel like it's just essentially I don't know, I feel like in a lot of ways, a lot of that technical analysis stuff is just like Rorschach tests. You know what I mean? It's just like you kind of end up seeing what you want to see. If you try hard enough, you'll see what you want to see. You'll be like, there it is. You'll be like, there's a trend line here, or there's this there. So like,
That's
I
a good way to
wonder,
put it.
yeah, I always thought that like, it seems like it works because everybody else is thinking that it works. You know what I mean? It kind of works because everybody's in on it
Right.
together.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
then if you're left holding the bag, it's like musical chairs. Somebody's going to be left without liquidity or whatever the case may be, holding the short or,
Right. And I feel like it's sort of probably kind of honestly, like if I had a shitload of money, I would think it would be like kind of fun to just knock everybody out, just like move, you know what I mean? Just like put in big orders, move everybody, just knock everybody out and then buy back it, just I feel like you could just, because you could do that, that would just be a thing. Why not? Like, why wouldn't you do it,
Yeah.
And then I can only imagine like all these high frequency trading sort of like algorithms and AIs going and crazy and stuff, like I don't know. Like I feel like, do you feel like there's a lot of talk right now about people just are like so they just don't believe that the market can go up or why it's going up. They just don't get it. And they're like, every time it seems it's about to fall, like it just seems like somebody's just pumping money directly. And I think it is the Fed. The Fed is essentially pumping money. But do you feel like that's, I don't know, is that something that you have seen since you've been doing this stuff for a while? Or do you feel like this is sort of like a new, it's like an unprecedented time where it seems like things are being manipulated?
Well, when we say manipulated, I think you can look at that a lot of ways. You can be conspiratorial and say, who's manipulating? Is it like billionaires and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a cabal running the world, lizard people? Is it the Fed? I think largely what's happened right now is just, the Federal Reserve has learned the lesson from both the Great Depression and the Great Recession. Obviously, during the Great Recession, they tried to prevent a Great Depression, which they did. Ben Bernanke, who spent his whole life studying the Great Depression, was able to fire a lot of money into the system, shoot a lot of money into the system right when it counted, and it stabilized the banking system. And, a lot of that is through bailouts of banks, and maybe there could have been a better way by bailing out individuals who would have then injected that money into the system. I think there's a very good argument for that. And I think right now it's a tragedy what's going on, that so many companies are going under that just arbitrarily there's so much to unpack, but right now I think the government should give more money to individuals than to companies, because they would pump the money back into the economy and people wouldn't go hungry and all that.
Yeah, what's funny is now that you mention it, I remember this exact same argument 12 years ago of people being, you need to give people money so that they spend it into the economy. And then they're just like, nah, we're not going to do
Goldman
that.
Sachs.
Yeah, we're not. But this time it's like even worse, because last time they didn't shut down the fucking whole economy for 2 months. You know what I mean? It's not like people were out of work for 2 months. So I just don't it just seems like a no-brainer that you would like want to just flood the like basically consumers with money
Yeah.
so that they don't start going crazy and don't start rioting and like
Less
breaking
than
things,
5% of the money so far spent has been directly to people. Less than 5%. It's the rest is to companies.
I mean, it's amazing. It's almost like, I mean, that's why you can see why the conspiratorial shit is there, but I feel like it doesn't even necessarily need to be that sinister,
Mhm.
but it is just kind of clear who's being favored. I mean, it's just not like really a conspiracy. It's pretty out in the open. It's like it's pretty obvious that like, okay, there's no. I mean, I remember when the market was crashing and they did the emergency like 1.5 trillion, right? And they just like unleashed it. And I get it, they were saying like the whole thing was just going to collapse, so they needed to stop it from collapse. I
Yeah.
get that, but it is the contrast between how much they fought the debate over that versus the debate over when they were doing the bill for the people, like was just amazing. Like they're basically fighting tooth and nail when they were working out the stimulus package for people. Essentially, they were just quibbling and arguing and delaying it. But when it came to like the banks and Wall Street, they were just like, let's go.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's so fascinating. So fascinating that they not even just once they could just be like, you know what, fuck it, we're just gonna give everybody let's give everybody $2,000, or like almost every other country has formulated some way of like either doing 80% of people's income or whatever, whatever it is. And I think that's basically just like smart money, like if you think about it, because I don't know, I don't foresee stability. Like, I don't see how you could keep things stable if you're gonna shut everything down and then not give people anything, like any way to pay rent or anything like that.
Have you gotten your stimulus check?
I just got it. Yeah.
Oh, really? When?
Just got it. What's today? So I think I got it Saturday.
Okay, today's the 12th. I still haven't gotten it.
Did you
And
check
I know a lot of people still haven't gotten it.
Yeah, did you check your website, the website thingy or whatever?
I haven't bothered because like
oh yeah
I'm fortunately working during this, and like you need to put in your social security number and it was all this bullshit. I don't know. Did you use the website before you got it?
Yeah, I did it. Well, I actually ended up filing my taxes early this year, so I think they just had all my shit. But the website was simple, except the only thing was you needed to put in all caps for your address, or else it wouldn't work. But besides that, it was fairly accurate. It said that it was going to get mailed a certain day. It was a check, so it ended up coming in the mail. But I think it also depends on income. Like it's like,
yeah, I definitely didn't make enough last year to exempt myself. So I don't know.
Yeah, so you should be getting it. I'm sure you should be.
It's just so slow. It's been 8 weeks or whatever. It's unbelievable.
I mean, it's amazing. Like if they thought that you took money from them, they would just take it from you instantly. They would just take it right out of your bank account. You know what I mean? If the IRS felt like they needed to put a lien on you or whatever, they would just snatch that money. But when it comes to them giving you back $1,200 that you paid them for taxes, they're like, oh, bro, it's gonna take me a while.
Well, and we're good about in this country blaming the government, but we just fucking don't fund it enough to even work. So it's like, it's truly kicking somebody when they're down. It's like, why aren't you being a good friend? And your friend is like over in the corner having a fucking seizure and epileptic fit, and you're like, such a douchebag. Why aren't you paying attention to me? It's like their fucking core is not even working. Their basic, Maslow's hierarchy is just crumbled. So you can't blame them for not doing other higher order things.
Well, that is something interesting you're bringing up, where there's a lot of like sort of consumer blaming and shaming, or voter shaming, or you know what I mean? Just like when this is something I think about all the time when it comes to like the environment, where there's a lot of like, well, if only you'd recycle and you'd stop eating meat and you'd stop and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm the problem. Like I'm the problem. I'm just buying what's available. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're all just part of a system. It's like there's people out there who are fucking in charge of all of that. If they change the system, you change the system, people change behaviors. I mean, that's really what I just feel like. It's kind of like, it's a very interesting tactic to put it on totally on the consumer when you know, it's just like, if we just, all you have to do is pass a law. You just pass laws and people start shifting behaviors. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the stuff that, for instance, the stuff that caused the crash in 2008, it was all legal. It wasn't, there's nothing illegal. You know what I mean? It was fine. You know, everything they were doing is totally legal. Like there's nothing wrong with, you know, but so, I mean, it's really the system. It's just like, because that loophole is there, we can do that.
Right.
Do you think though that they're gonna? What do you think? Do you really think they're gonna just like keep basically kicking the can down the road and stalling on giving money, or do you think eventually they're gonna be like, we gotta fucking start paying people? Oh,
It's a great question. I think it's in the Republicans' best interest to be to act like it's the Democrats' fault for not reopening the country until the election. They'll blame the economic crash on the Democrats, and anything else they'll say, "Oh, the government wasn't there to save you, so don't invest more money in the government." So the fact that the Republicans control the White House and the Senate, and all the Democrats are just stuck in the middle of the House, I don't know. I think we're fucked.
really?
Right.
God damn it! I mean, yeah, a lot of it I can see is this electioneering where both sides are basically playing chicken with the entire country to see if, like, basically, I think you're right. It's like both sides want the population to blame the other team for the failure,
sure.
right? So, like, everybody, the Republicans want everybody to blame the Democrats, and then the Democrats want everybody to blame Trump. You know, be like, Trump is the reason. You know, and then, meanwhile, I feel like there's a lot of people sort of in the middle who are like, oh, you guys both suck. You guys both basically screwed the pooch on this. Like, you guys could have really, I mean, I think about this all the time. Like, there's all the news that came out about, there was like 4 senators who basically traded on the coronavirus news. And like, you know,
And
one of them,
we're done talking about it. What the fuck's going to happen to them?
like nothing at all, because there's no insider trading is completely legal in Congress,
Although,
right? Like,
no, it's not. There was a
or did they change it?
Yeah, they passed, I believe, in 2010 or 2011, called the Stock Act.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's like stop trading. You know, it's like some weird acronym, but basically it's supposed to prevent Congress from insider trading. So it's a shocking that we've had 200 and almost 40 years of history or more, whatever, and the fact that we fucking still, that only recently that was illegal, and then it doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters. Well, I think one of the senators is married to the president of the New York Stock Exchange. So, you know, that's, they don't jail.
Mitch McConnell's wife is something, she's like a really big business person, but
no, it was that lady senator, Kelly, whatever. The one of them was a woman. So Feinstein was one of them.
Yeah.
This other lady, Kelly something, I can't remember her name, but she's
Richard
married.
Burr was another guy.
Yeah, so that woman's husband is the president of the stock exchange.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm sure there's nothing shady there.
Yeah. By the way, I have a question. I have had trouble circling back around to it, but you said something I'm curious to get your thoughts on.
Sure.
You mentioned you don't, when it comes to like the environment, you don't think it's necessarily individuals to blame. You think the system can be changed for people to help the environment. And I think largely that's the case. I think if we invest more in green energy, I think we should have a Green New Deal. That's a big thing. But I just wonder where politically you fall, because like if you try to legislate people's choices on food, you know, anything with their health, people get very antsy. Like even New York City with the fucking Michael Bloomberg, you know, soda tax, right?
Right. Well, yeah, here's the thing. I mean, I think that with let's say, let's just take the environment, for instance. No matter how much we reduce, reuse, recycle, no matter how much we do that, the entire grid runs on coal, essentially. Like our entire grid, even our Teslas are powered eventually. You go far enough back, it's still coal. You know what I mean? Like,
mostly natural gas now, but yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah. That's actually one of the things I want to talk about because of our fracking. But you know what I mean? We're burning fossil fuels. Essentially,
right.
Like, all of it's essentially burning fossil fuels. So the system inherently is just like rigged. If you're like, so it's like no matter if everybody just starts recycling or whatever, it doesn't matter when all the factories that recycle the materials, they're all running on, you know, they're belching carbon into the air. Everything, you know. So So I
Right.
feel like in some ways it's like, yeah, I think you could try to regulate people's behavior. You could try to do this, try to limit waste, but until some systemic changes occur, I think a lot of it, the pandemic might be an interesting catalyst to a lot of that, like maybe some decentralization of things like factory farming or industrial agriculture. Like, I mean, I think a lot of the centralization that we did, especially with food production and I don't know, I guess like industry and shit like that, like we probably could figure out ways of doing it that are way cleaner and more sustainable. You know what I mean? Probably more productive. Like honestly, you know, we could probably figure that out. But I think because, well, I mean, honestly, I think it's a lot of it is America is in some ways at its soul like an agrarian society. You know what I mean? Like there's a it's not like a smaller country that can be super nimble and just decide, you know what, we're going digital currency now and just fucking switching everything. You know what I mean? There's like,
Sure.
I think there's so much, there's a great deal of just sort of like, whether it's like attachment to the way things used to be, like farmers were, or if it's just the fact that this country is just way too big and there's no way to enact all this change, you know, like I think it's, in some ways it's, I feel like, honestly, I feel like in some ways it's a way of placing the blame onto the people instead of being like, you know, what we got to do is really change a lot of the stuff. Because I do feel like, I mean, even with the insider trading thing, you know, like it's been legal this whole time. So they probably don't, even though that law was passed, I bet you most of Congress doesn't feel like it's wrong. You know what I mean? Like it's probably not wrong, you know, because we do it all the time. Like I feel like there must be this sense of, you know, elitism and entitlement of like, look, we are, you know, we're special. We can do this, you know? And so I think that there's something about that that is, I don't know. It's just weird. It's like, you know, this actually reminds me of like what people would say after the financial crash, which was like, it was a lot of like kind of blaming the people. Like those people knew they couldn't afford those houses, and those people knew that they couldn't take those loans on, and those people knew that they couldn't afford those mortgages or whatever, you know. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure a lot of them did, you know what I mean? Like I'm sure a lot of them did figure, but at the time it's not like they were being discouraged, and it's not like the entire system was predicated on just flipping houses. Like you know, back then it was just like you buy a house, you flip it, you know. And so you know, so I think it's systemically, the whole thing was designed to just give out loans to people for how, you know, just to create this housing bubble. So I don't know. That's just,
on the flip side, you could say, well, consumers have as many choices in America as almost anywhere. You can, if you wanted to, you could buy a Nissan Leaf. You could get solar panels. They could run completely on, you know, solar power. You could eat nothing but a plant-based diet, which is much less harmful to the environment. You could do all these things, and you could choose to save more money like I do and not spend as much, although then that would be a hard thing to do when you're getting all this fucking solar panels and shit. But no, I mean, you could make the case that somebody could live in a very modest, sustainable way in America. We just choose to have huge mansions and stuff and have the biggest vehicle possible. I say collectively we, but I drive a Prius and I don't spend too much money. But anyway.
Right. Culturally, sure. I mean, if we did that, it's very possible. But at the same time, it's like, you know, what's a real big polluter? War. You know, you know what makes a lot of fossil fuels? Cruise missiles, as they burn tons of fuel, and then all the debris they put into the air. Where you know what I mean? So it's just like, on some level, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, I gotta consume, but like systemically, it's, you know what I mean? America is essentially just like a ravenous, rapacious monster. You know, like we're just guzzling the entire. You know, we just like that's us. You know, like I feel like, you know, if America started saving like you. Like if every single person started saving like you, this country would be on its knees. Like this country, the economy would crumble, you know, like just because, I mean, at least at first, I'm sure it might pick up, but like, I feel like this country is so predicated on spending that, you know, that's the system in place, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that we turn everybody into me, although that would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty
Um,
awesome.
But I don't know. I feel like some of what you're saying, like, why does it matter if I eat cheeseburgers all day and have a Ford F-150 if I'm a single man who works in a desk job? You could say the same thing for some fucking Frenchman, you know? Some guy in France could say, "Oh, what does it matter? The Americans, they waste. They waste. I don't need to do any better," you know?
Right.
They could basically the lawmakers there could say the same thing with good reason that America, 5% of the world's population, emits 20% of the world's carbon.
Right. Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying like, because then that I could just logically extend that to like we are all gonna die, so why do anything?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, so
Right.
that's not that's not really what
Yeah,
I'm
that's
saying.
not what you're saying. Good. Good.
No. What I'm saying is that like I think no matter what, the consumer is going to change their behavior. You know what I mean? Like if given the choice between something that is better for the environment and something that isn't, given the right conditions, I think people over time will make that choice. You know what I mean? Like, but I think for the thing that's going to make that hard in the long run is economics. So like just with the price of oil. So one of the things about oil, if oil gets super cheap, there's not much incentive really for a lot of people to switch to clean energy or anything like that. If if everything suddenly becomes cheaper because their energy costs start going down, like I don't necessarily see a lot of people being like, yeah, we gotta, So like I think those are the kind of things that would stall something like clean energy. But I think a lot of that is based on infrastructure, right? A lot of that is based on because I feel like Germany, some countries, they've made pledges to go become clean, right? They've
Sure, the Paris Accord.
No, I mean besides that, because the Paris Accord isn't binding, but I think
Sure.
like Germany, I think they said like by I can't remember what it was, like 2030 something. They're like going to be clean, totally clean, no fossil fuels or whatever, right? Like so you could see that systemically in Germany there is going to be drastic changes, right? They're going to start phasing out gas cars. They're going to start phasing out, more motors and internal combustion, everybody. And you can see how that would change the culture. I just feel like that would sort of cascade. There would be like this big effect of things changing. And I think that's natural. That's like what happened with cars or whatever. So I feel like it isn't that there's no point in fixing your behavior so that maybe things will get better. I think it's that it has to be like a two-pronged thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the people and the system have to change together.
I'm just laughing at myself drinking Aquafina. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't consume. I don't consume.
Yeah, I mean, meanwhile,
I'm at my dad's apartment now in Minnesota, and my dad, he's so fucking such a boomer. He like. We had some salmon that was frozen. He's like, "Oh, it's too tough." He didn't want to eat the salmon.
Threw it out.
He doesn't. He let me finish what was left of the salmon, and then like we have a water filter. I got a pure water filter for the sink, and he's like, we've been using it, and then he kept getting bottled water. He's like, "Well, I don't like the taste." He still doesn't with the pure water filter. Still doesn't like the taste. So.
But it's just also that idea of just like this water is not pleasing to me, so I will purchase my own water. I mean, that is an incredibly privileged. If you go to any country that has to like dig for well water and be like, well, in our country, like our purified water doesn't taste very good. Like
a fucking bottle of water though. If you think about how cheap petrocarbons are right now, how easily extracted they are from places like Saudi Arabia and Russia, and then you compare that to a cheeseburger, that a cheeseburger is disastrous for us and the planet. It's like the worst thing. If you stop, this is, by the way, I've done some back of the envelope calculations. I read in Vice last year, fucking Vice, that if you stop eating beef for a year, and I've read this someplace else too, it's equivalent of saving 3,000 trees per year. And that's because of all the land that it takes to grow the corn and the soybeans to feed the cow, obviously. It's an incredible amount of land, but I think that number 3,000 is taken from their ass because there are, I believe, like 4 or 5 trillion trees, maybe 4 trillion trees in the world. So I don't think their math quite adds up.
I mean,
then
all
again,
that
not
stuff.
everybody eats meat.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get a lot of that stuff too, and that is one of the things I worked in China for a bit on a movie, like in
Oh, cool.
Shanghai.
Where? Shanghai.
In Shanghai, yeah, I ended up like a buddy of mine hired me to edit this movie, and one of the things I realized was that like I was like, hold on, the U.S. consumes 4 times more than the average person on the planet, right? That's like,
Right.
but there's 4 times more people in China than there are in the U.S.
Yep.
So if China started consuming like the U.S., it would be
Mhm.
over. Like, you know what I mean? That would be the entire world's research. Like, so there's no way.
It's already starting to happen, though. I mean,
That's
like,
what I mean. So that will, yeah. Like so I think like that it's not sustainable. You know, that's the
for
thing.
sure.
It's not sustainable. So at some point, something's gotta happen. It's either we're gonna smarten up and try to engineer something, or we're gonna be forced to, you know, adapt to whatever that
Yeah.
is. You know, so I mean, so I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows how that?
I want
but
a
I
Green
do.
New Deal. I'll tell you that, Rojan. I think
Yeah.
if we're gonna, as Rahm Emanuel so eloquently and not callously when he said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste," you know,
Mm-hmm.
like if we don't get a crazy jobs program out of this, because by the way, we're not gonna exit this fucking thing with Macy's, with Kohl's. Then he's big. They're fucking gone.
Nope.
It's
Yeah.
Amazon. It's all online. A
Yep.
few are going to remain. Target's going to remain. Walmart's going to remain. But it's
Yep.
everything else is online. We're going to need to put these people to work. We're not going to have as many drivers with autonomous cars in the next 5 years. So Green New Deal. We're going to need universal basic income, no doubt. You know, and that's going to need to get ramped up. But
Yeah.
I want a Green New Deal.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we need everything we've been talking about for the past 100 years, healthcare. We need some kind of basic income or safety
Yeah.
net. We need an infrastructure project. We need massive, probably like tax reform. You know, we need structural reform. But
Mhm.
I don't know, man. It just seems hard. I feel so hard pressed to see either side working very hard on a solution. And my suspicion is like, and maybe I'm just a cynical person, but it just seems like it just seems kind of like a grift, and that eventually they being the elite, you know, whatever the financial, political, whoever elite, are essentially going to turn their backs on the majority of the population and just kind of Hunger Games it out. You know what I mean? Like just kind of. I mean, it just doesn't seem like there's anything in place or happening, or even they can't even agree on anything. You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem like that's a priority. So it's so hard for me to. I have faith that it could happen, but it's so hard to see at this moment that like who's gonna be under what leadership, under what coalition, you know, like under what like.
As long as we revolt before they put chips in our head to control us.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I don't think they'll need to. It doesn't have to be invasive, man. It's gonna be nanotech.
Oh fuck!
Yeah, you just breathe
like
it in.
a virus.
Yeah, you just breathe it in, and then it'll just form the chip in your head. Like it just goes in there, and it just a thing. You know. Yeah.
Wow.
They don't have to. Come on, Nick. We don't have to do any of that. Yeah, it'll be fine. But
at that point, we're part of the Matrix, and
things might be better. I mean, you never know.
Possible. Yeah.
We might actually all work together at that point. That might be what it takes. It might be some kind of like a nano.
Singularity.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe under the singularity we could actually work. Wouldn't it be hilarious if under the singularity we still were just fighting against? We were still like there was like a red cluster and a blue cluster.
We're all connected.
Just like, but just more polarized than ever. You know, like, well, I mean, what are your feelings on sort of? I mean, Paul, I don't know. It's hard to make it a political, but just like in terms of how you see the political discourse right now going, in terms of where we're going to be in the fall, even. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think? Like, do you have any indications? Do you feel like?
Yeah, man, it's looking rough. Obviously, we're not going to be able to vote in person. That just seems like that's totally out of the question, at least not to any large scale. Vote by mail. Whoever wins, even if it's the Democrats, I feel like we're going to contest the results of the election. Well, of course, if it's the Democrats, but also everybody's going to do it. People have been saying that about Trump. He's not going to go quietly. He's
Right.
not. He never would, under any circumstance, go quietly. But
Wait, you don't think so? Because sometimes I think that like if he lost and you took the job off of him, it might be the best time to just slip out. Like on like right now might be. I don't know. I'm just saying. Like I don't know if I would want to be left.
That's a great scenario.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like I don't know. Yeah. I am now
I hope Biden dies. I'll say that. I hope he
that's the thing. Is like I have no faith in either candidate at this point. I have no faith in either party. I have no faith in like I honestly think the Democrats are gonna run some kind of rigmarole at the convention and be like, now we're gonna have someone else and Cuomo or something. Yeah, like and everybody. And that's actually the most ridiculous thing is that like, okay, you guys had 4 years and the best person you came up with was the guy who did well in the crisis that literally just happened. Like you had nobody else before that. Like I mean, that's one of the things I'm like, you guys literally had 3 years. I mean, you had years, and the only thing they were going for was it was Russia, and then when Russia fell apart, it was impeaching, and then that fell apart, and then it was pandemic. Like that was basically like one after the other.
Democrats are so bad at messaging, like messaging and leadership. But I mean, technically, when Trump gets out of office, he could still be prosecuted for Russian, crimes with Russia. There was no collusion, but there could have been coordination. There clearly was coordination because they were meeting together.
Well, but that's actually one of the reasons why the nothing came after the Mueller report, and especially when they had the hearing, is like they were trying to get a clear crime. They were just trying to get a clear, but there was no, you know what I mean? There was just, I mean, there's that weird language of he was not exonerated from a crime, but like that's not really a real thing. There's no such thing as that. You know what I mean? It's like if you're accused of a crime, they don't go, you're exonerated. They're either guilty or not. He wasn't exonerated. Well, that's the thing. But there's no such thing. The whole thing is like in the end there was like no evidence to, you know what I mean? That's what they were saying, is that there was no evidence or not enough evidence.
Yeah, he could be tried for other things though. That's what Robert Mueller basically said, or he was questioned on. He said that's true, basically.
But I think the reason was because he just wanted there to be an out of sorts. You know what I mean? Like like Mueller, for instance, do you remember? I don't know if you remember. Mueller was the director of the FBI during 9/11. You remember that? Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm 42, dude. I'm fucking old.
Wow.
And you can just C-SPAN this right now. You can just type in Mueller WMD, and it's him pitching WMDs in Iraq to Congress. It's him being like, we have evidence, we have, and so, so confident, so assured in his Robert Mueller way. But that's kind of like, okay, is this the guy we're trusting? Is it the guy who lied to Congress to get us into the war? It's either he lied willingly or he thought that, you know what I mean? It's either incompetence or he willfully lied in that instance. And either one doesn't give me any faith in like, oh, this guy is the guy to
how did I miss that? Where did you just pulled that from your memory? Was anybody talking about that?
Oh no, they talk. Yeah. People were talking about that a lot. A lot of critics of Mueller, especially from, a lot of my critique of the Russiagate stuff, I sort of got from the left of the media. So a lot of progressive voices like Glenn Greenwald, Aaron Mate, Jimmy Dore was actually a good one there. Like that. So a lot of them were like kind of calling bullshit on the whole thing the whole time. And the reason why I'm like, I avoid even talking about the shit altogether because it's so heated.
We can move on.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying I don't want to talk about it with you, but I'm just saying.
I think we should
it's
move
so
on
polarizing.
Pretty quickly, I think we've lost people just talk. I think when they heard Mueller, they're like, "Oh fuck, I thought we were over this."
No, trust me. There were never any people to lose in the first place. So
man, you got quite a back catalog. I need to listen. I was just talking to Jared Levin like 5 minutes before this, and he's like, "Oh, I was on Rojan's podcast." So I
had him on a while back. Yeah. Jared's hilarious because he's actually quite well versed in geopolitics. Like
very much so.
You would never expect it, but
he knows every fucking South American dictator ever.
Yeah, and everything that happened to them. He'll tell you that when they were assassinated, tell
Yep.
you the monetary policy that they were
And he
trying
has
to
this
introduce.
surfer, boy, like fucking intonation. He's like, dude, you don't even know Pinochet. Like, I can't even get into it.
Yeah, it's like, dude, bro, when they dollarized the economy of Ecuador, there's like, no, well, that's one of the things I love about comics in general is that, like, well, you too, dude, fucking, it's like, why, for all intents and purposes, no one would expect like somebody who is even remotely interested in, say, stocks or business, reading the Wall Street Journal when you're a kid, you know what I mean? Like, to be a comedian, to want to be a comedian, or to even be one. But it's like, to me, I feel like it's a thing that transcends everything, race, gender, whatever, it's the thing that unifies us all, because it's like we all have a sickness, essentially.
Yeah,
we
we
all
do.
have the same disease.
Absolutely.
But like, how did you start? So you were fucking, I'm guessing were you kind of like a straight edge, or straight, just kind of like a nice, good kid, like, not doing drugs and not.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I drank, in high school, and kids here did, they had weed. It was easier to get weed in the Twin Cities than it was to get alcohol in, like,
It makes sense.
2007. It was
Yeah.
weird. But yeah, and then I went to college in Washington D.C. and I studied business, and I always loved comedy. I thought I would just do business because it seemed logical and it seemed like you make money and you retire and it's nice. But then I worked for some companies in DC and then decided to move out to LA. And it was in LA, I realized I got to do comedy. Like, I had taken, my mom and sister got me some improv classes for Christmas one year,
Uh-huh.
and in DC. And then I did that, and I'm like, I did improv a little bit. And once I got to LA, I was itching to start doing stand-up. So that's when it started.
So you just had the bug. You just wanted to do it. You just
Oh, yeah.
wanted to. Oh, that's interesting. And is that something that's always been there since you were a kid, or like, is that just, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I guess so. Like, as a kid, there were a few things that I wanted to be, and I think all it was just from movies. Like, I wanted to be an actor because I saw movies. I wanted to be an inventor because I saw Carrot Top in the movie Chairman of the Board, and I wanted to be an investment banker because of Chevy Chase in the movie Nothing But Trouble. I wanted to be a limo driver because of Floyd Christmas in Dumb and Dumber. So
wow. But I mean, the unifying thing through all of that is that they're all comedies. I mean, that's the funny thing, is like they're all, like they're all comic things. You always kind of had like this, whatever, you just like comedic sensibility or whatever. Just, you were attracted to comedy.
I always loved comedy.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, it would make sense. Oh, dude, I want to talk actually about this oil thing. All right. Yeah. So the whole thing with oil, like, I've been hearing a lot of people, basically, like, how the Saudis and the Russians were essentially flooding the market with oil, right? Like, and there's this whole narrative that it was a war, that they were sort of at war with each other. You know what I mean? That they were sort of like competing against each other for the market, whatever, flooding the. But there's, I've been hearing some other people just talk about how, like, if you really think about it, though, the real victim in this is the U.S. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the person it hurts the most. Both sides have an interest in basically hurting us because we became such a producer, especially with all the fracking and all that stuff under the Obama years or whatever. And I think
Canada too.
Oh yeah, and Canada. Canada's a big part of that, right? Like, I know their currency is like tied to oil and stuff. Like, so do you really? So what do you think, man? Do you think that, like, because I think, for one thing, it's really interesting if you just kind of zoom out and look at the U.S. and you go, all right, in 2001 they were attacked. Okay, they basically said, all right, it was a bunch of Middle Easterners, so we're gonna go to war in the Middle East, and by the way, try to secure the oil there. Okay, that's gonna be like, that's a side effect, but whatever. But meanwhile, so fast forward 8 years later, Obama becomes president, and they just start fracking technology starts booming, right? And they just start fracking everywhere, and we're just like, you know what? We're just gonna fucking open it up and just start flooding the market with our fucking gas and oil, right? Like, so we basically fucked the Russians, essentially, right? Because so much of their economy was tied to oil, and we were tanking the price of it. So
For sure.
so now it's like another 10 years later, and so much of our economy is tied to energy production or whatever, and the Saudis and the Russians have they're supposed to be at war with each other, but in the meantime it's going to basically decimate energy production in the United States, because I heard something like a lot of those companies, they need oil to be like above 30 to be profitable. Like, so if it's under 30, like they're fucked essentially. So I mean, what do you think? Do you think that there was some calculated measure in terms of trying to fuck with the US's market share or whatever, or do you think it's just an unintended consequence of like?
You just said China. Was that a Freudian slip, or did you mean Russia and Saudi
Oh,
Arabia?
my bad. Yeah, not China. Yeah. Actually, China is a part of it too. China is an element in there. But yeah, go on, man.
Well, I want to hear about that, but absolutely, I think there's no doubt that the Russians and the Saudis have a bone to pick with us, Russia especially. But
Oh, you cut out. Oop, hello. Yeah.
I can hear you.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
I think it cut out
All
for
right,
a second.
back.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were just saying, last thing you said was that the Russians were definitely pissed at the US.
Yeah. And obviously, as you've pointed out, their economy is very much tied to oil. Putin had a pretty good wave of economic growth until like the financial crisis, and then oil peaked, and then we started, as you said, flooding the market. So I think that there's no doubt about that. I think that's actually relatively a mainstream view, right? At
Oh, okay.
this point.
Oh, no, I haven't heard it much framed in terms of like it attacking, like being an attack on us. More that like we are gonna obviously feel the effects of the market flooding with all the oil and stuff like that. But you think it is definitely, it just seems obvious that like, yeah, it's a calculated move to essentially hurt us economically.
Yeah, well, I think they just want to shake off competitors, as you said, who have higher cost bases, where
Right.
at $30 is the break-even point. And by the way, it's unfortunate for recycled plastic, because like it's only profitable if oil's like over $50 a barrel in a lot of cases.
Jesus
So
Christ.
a lot of the single stream recycling, if you put plastic in, they'll just put it in the landfill when it's below $50 a barrel, because it literally will cost them money to recycle it.
Right. Yeah. Which is why, again, there's only so much that shaming the person for not throwing the thing in the recycling bin is going to do. If oil is under $50 a barrel, they're just going to dump it all in the fucking
Paper, though.
landfill.
I love trees. Save fucking paper.
Oh, no, paper, yeah. We should, really phase out paper, or at least figure out a new way of hemp. We could use hemp. Well, that's the whole thing, is that we've had a thing this whole time that's completely renewable, does it? Yeah. Well, anyways. So the thing about China is that the thing that I'm hearing about China is that, okay, so China is essentially I think they're on their way to becoming the #1 consumer of oil, right? They're basically speculating that they need a shitload of oil, especially to run their that new Silk Road thing they're building. They're building a giant road across Eurasia. So for all of that, and then the shit they want to build along the way, and then also they have a lot of relationships with Africa, and they have a lot of transport costs. They're actually growing tons of food out there and mining tons of shit out there, and they're essentially doing all this like infrastructure. I don't know. They just like kind of go into a country in Africa and basically like make a deal with them and be like, here, we'll fix this port up for you guys, and then we'll take a cut or whatever. So they're doing a lot of work. So they are consuming tons of energy. And so one of the things I was hearing is that like it's sort of a concerted effort, probably between Russia, China, the Saudis, and Iran, to start decoupling everybody from the petrodollar, like the world, essentially, to try to create a new reserve currency and shift everybody over. And one of the ideas is that it would either be a gold, something backed with gold, or it's either two things I heard. One is like they may try to move to some kind of standard that's pegged onto something like gold, a commodity like gold, or or a digital currency. And then the other thing I heard of is trying to create like this IMF basket of currencies. So a bunch of different countries kind of like pool their currencies together, and then the IMF says like this is the reserve currency or whatever. So essentially, so basically, it's like this kind of long-term game to start taking the world economy off the petrodollar and then create a new reserve currency. And a lot of that's through the oil manipulation and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not smart. That's the whole thing. Is like whatever. I'm not like a total dummy, but I know I'm too dumb to totally understand. So it's kind of, it's like I kind of like understand on a surface level, like
even when you say petrodollar, I just think back to the movie Network. Did you ever see that?
Oh yeah, fuck yeah! I love Network, dude. Yeah.
Terrific movie.
Petrodollar was huge back then because of the oil crisis.
Yeah,
they were all talking about that, and also that was back when wasn't it like 1974 when we got off gold? So essentially, it was like
Nixon took us off gold.
Nixon took us off gold, and the next thing you know, we hooked ourselves onto oil, and then like huge crisis happened, which I don't know. I don't understand really either. But do you understand any of that, man? Do you understand any of this business about gold?
A little extent, like what's happened recently with the collapse in oil prices, that has dragged down consumer prices overall. I don't know if you saw, I think data released maybe yesterday or today said that consumer prices fell almost 1% last month alone, which is huge. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
0.8% they say. It's probably worse than that. But if you take away oil and food prices, which are the most volatile, it's about 0.5%, 0.4%, they said. So it's interesting how much you can see, like oil is having double the effect basically on our currency compared to all other prices, just because the rapid decline of it.
Oh, so you mean like just the movement of the price of oil is affecting the price of
when
the
I say currency, I should have said prices,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Obviously, it's all linked, like what our prices are affect the value of the dollar compared to other global currencies. So there are a lot of different, obviously, threads to it. So,
I mean, do you think that we will go into what they like what I hear is called a deflationary spiral or whatever, where it's just essentially that's what they're trying to prevent, right? Essentially,
if you don't put enough money in consumers' hands, that's definitely what's going to happen.
Right, and then everything just prices start plummeting, and then yay! But then the opposite would be hyperinflation, right? Where the dollar, we just have it costs us $1,000 to get a pack of gum or whatever, and then like
that's a less remote, a less probable risk at this point. That seems more remote.
You think so? So you don't think it'll ever get to like Weimar Republic type, nonsense? Like
I've been wrong before. It very well might, but it seems like we're going in the deflation direction right now.
If we need wheelbarrows full of cash, we're gonna do another podcast.
Yeah, I will eat my cat.
You're gonna eat a wheelbarrow full of cash, actually, which is how much a cat is cost. All right, dude. Well, thank you so much for doing this podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you, Rojan.
Is there any place the people can find you? Like, you want to plug
all the content,
Instagram or
check out my Instagram, please. It's my last name, Linsmayer. Linsmayer. Obviously, Rojan will spell it in the fucking show notes. So, thanks again for having me. This was fun.
No problem, man. Thanks a lot. And I guess are you going to be back in LA sometime soon, or are you going to be out there for a while?
Probably this summer. Yeah, playing it by ear, but I'll be back.
All right, man. Well, all right, dude. Good talking to you, and talk to you soon.
Yeah, take care.
All right, take care.
Hey, by the way, if you want to join, like Ryan and Jared and I, we were talking on Google Hangouts and some other people. I'm not sure if they're still on, but I'll try to get it going again.
Okay, yeah, send me a link.
All right, cool.
All right, man.
Bye.
Take care.